The Ugly Boatman, a Vietnamese folk tale. Folk Tales from the Orient, The Ugly Boatman, a Vietnamese folk tale retold by Vu Ni Thuy, illustrated by Kwan Shan, Federal Publication. Once upon a time, there was a young fisherman whose only home was his boat. His name was Trong Chi. He was a wonderful musician, but he was lonely, for he was so ugly that nobody wanted to talk to him. During the day, he spent his time fishing. As soon as the sun had set, he began to play his flute. The music, sweet and yet sad, floated across the immense river. Trong Chi was famous for his playing of the flute. People loved to listen to him. It happened that the castle of a Mandarin lord was near the river. The Mandarin lord and his lady had a beautiful young daughter. Her skin was smooth and her cheeks were as pink as ripe peaches. Her large eyes were black and her hair flowed down her back like a river of black jet. Her room was the most beautiful one in the castle. As it faced the river, she could not help hearing the music of the fisherman's flute. Every evening at sunset, she would sit at the window waiting for Trong Chi's boat to pass by, listening to the music, drawing nearer and nearer. Then she would watch the lonely boat drifting downstream until it was out of sight in the darkness. She could see the shape of a man playing the flute, but she could not see his face. Month after month passed, and each evening the Mandarin's daughter watched for the coming of the young man and his music. If she heard the flute, she was happy and would sleep peacefully. One day something went wrong. Water came into Trong Chi's boat. There were holes in the bottom of the boat because it was so old, so he could not fish anymore. This was unfortunate, for Trong Chi had to fish to earn his living. He had no time to play his flute either, and he missed this more than anything, for he loved to make music. The Mandarin's daughter did not know anything about this, of course. She waited and waited, but there was no sign of the boat, and she did not hear the music. She grew very restless and could neither eat nor sleep. She realized that she had fallen in love with the music and the man who made it. Her parents were very worried about her. They tried to find out the cause of her unhappiness, but their daughter did not dare to tell them. Meanwhile, Chi had finished repairing his boat. He was very happy because now he could fish and play his flute once more. One autumn evening, the faint music of his flute was heard again in the distance. The mandarin's daughter leapt up from her bed and ran to the open window. She stood there, her hair blowing in the wind. Her mother was very concerned. "Daughter," she said, "you must not stand in the wind. Go back to your bed, dearest Swan, before you catch a cold. Remember, you are not well." But the girl did not hear a word her mother said. She was too absorbed in the music. Her eyes sparkled with happiness, and she was smiling because the man she loved had returned, and she could hear the music of his flute once more. Her mother was surprised to see the change in her daughter's face. She came to the window to see what the girl was looking at. Then she understood. Her daughter had fallen in love. She was sad, for she knew her husband would never let his daughter marry a common man, let alone a poor fisherman who owned only a boat. "Daughter, please come. It is getting cold and the wind is strong," she said. But the young girl did not hear her. She stood there watching the boat drifting by, listening to the beautiful music until she could hear it no longer. Quietly, the Mandarin's lady went to tell her husband the cause of their daughter's restlessness. How angry the Mandarin lord was! "No fisherman shall enter my palace," he shouted, "and I shall never allow my daughter to marry a common man." He summoned his daughter to his presence and tried to talk some sense into her. "Daughter, you must forget about the fisherman, and from now on, you must not wait for him at the window. It is not proper for a young lady to behave in such a way." He spoke so severely that the young girl fell into hopeless despair. She became ill, for her father ordered all the windows to be locked so that she could not see the fisherman or hear his music anymore. For months she lay in her bed and could neither eat nor sleep. The winter passed by, cold and lonely. Her parents were very upset. They could not bear to see her die so young. The best doctor was called, and he prepared all sorts of medicine for her from the rarest herbs in the country. Everyone tried to nurse her back to life. But it was all no use. The young girl was fading away. Her death is near, the doctor said, unless we can do something more to save her. He asked her what was her last wish, and she murmured faintly, The music, the music, and the fisherman. If only I could see him and hear the music again. The Mandarin Lord was not pleased, but he consented to send for the fisherman in order to save his daughter's life. That evening, Trong Chi was summoned to the Mandarin Lord's palace. He was very frightened, for he had no idea why he had been sent for. He thought he must have done something wrong and was now going to be punished for it. In spite of his ugliness, Trong Chi had a heart of gold. He had never harmed anyone in his life. When Trong Chi reached the castle, he was taken to the maiden's deathbed. He saw the Mandarin's daughter for the first time in his life. She lay there, her eyes closed, and he thought how beautiful she was in her beauty, and yet so near to death. Trong Chi felt very sorry for her. Then the doctor ordered him to play his flute. He put all his soul and his love into each note of his music and played as he had never played before. The young girl's cheeks grew less pale. Her eyelids fluttered as if she was just awakening from a deep sleep. As each note soared higher and higher, more and more sadly, life flowed back into her veins. Her lips parted in a smile. Her parents were overjoyed. At last, the Mandarin's daughter opened her eyes. She was almost well. She looked at the musician and closed her eyes again. Why? Why was he so ugly? Why? Tears flowed down her beautiful cheeks. She wept until her pillows were wet with her tears. Her parents and the doctor could not understand this sudden change. They had given her what she wanted, yet she wept bitterly. They promised Trong Chi all that he wanted if he could make her smile again. But Trong Chi understood why she grieved. Sadly, he bowed and went away from the castle. The maiden watched him go. She loved his music, but she could never love the man himself. He was too ugly. Although Trong Chi longed to see the Mandarin's daughter again, he knew that this was impossible. He felt more lonely and unhappy than he had ever felt before. He went back to his boat, but he did not want to fish anymore. He did not even want to play his flute. The fisherman was not interested in eating or drinking. He grew weaker and weaker. He lay in his boat and let it drift aimlessly. One winter night it rained and rained. Water came into the boat. Chi was wet and cold and fell ill with a fever. He knew he was dying. He did not ask the villagers for help, but he wrote a message for them to find. Please make my heart into a cup and give it to the daughter of the Mandarin Lord. Chi died. Magically, nothing was left of him except his heart of gold. The villagers found his message and were sad, for they had loved the fisherman's music. They took his heart to a goldsmith who made it into a beautiful golden cup. So beautiful was it that everyone gasped with wonder. The gold cup was taken to the palace and presented to the Mandarin Lord for his daughter, but he did not know what it really was. The Mandarin Lord gave the gold cup to his daughter. She was delighted, for it was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. She wanted to use it every day as a teacup. Her maid made tea and poured it into the cup and quietly withdrew from her mistress' presence. The maiden held the gold cup to her lips. As she did so, she was astonished to see something reflected in it. She looked again. She saw the shadow of a boat and a man playing a flute. Then she heard the music she had loved, at first soft and sweet, then painfully sad, as if it had been from a broken heart. Then she remembered the fisherman and his music. Tears filled her eyes. The magic gold cup slipped from her hands and broke into 1,000 pieces. At that very moment, Chi and his music disappeared forever. In the end, the Mandarin's daughter really cared for him after all. The Mandarin Lord's daughter never married, nor did she ever forget her love for the ugly fisherman and his wonderful music. The End. Moongate Collection. Okay, guys, The Ugly Boatman. Okay, this is a 1976 Alpha Press Private Limited, 1981 Federal Publication Private Limited, number 1 New Industrial Road, Singapore, 1953. First published in 1976, reprinted 1981, all right reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form by any means, electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording or otherwise without the prior permission to the publishers. The publishers are grateful to Eileen Colwell for her assistance in editing the text, printed by Singapore National Printers. Thank you very much for listening to my reading of The Ugly Boatman. Okay, this book is first published in 1976 and reprinted in 1981 in Singapore. Okay, I bought this in July year 2003. Okay, it's a second-hand book, but it's a very good book. This is a hardcover. There you are. Okay, and with a beautiful watercolor illustration. Thank you. Bye. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you like my video, smash the like button, comments and share.